is so. Amen. Well, we are fast approaching the holidays. You believe it? Thanksgiving is this coming week. And you know, the Christmas decorations are all out in the stores, right? And before you know it, we will be turning the calendar over to 2019. But let's just for today look at the moment at hand. Seeing how today our topic is called Give Us This Day. We're playing with the theme all this month of gracing our lives with gratitude. And as we look at the Master Teacher's example of how to pray, his words were, give us this day. That is in the typical translation that many of us are familiar with. Give us this day our daily bread. The Master was teaching us how to pray. And it's not necessarily just the words, but it's the demeanor. It's the energy and the intention that the Master Teacher gave us. You see, he didn't say, oh, would you please just give me just a little tidbit of something. There was no beseeching. There was no begging. It was direct. It was specific. And it was for this day. Very important message that he gave us. Give us this day our daily bread. That is the typical translation. The one that I use regularly is the Aramaic translation. That's the actual language that Jesus spoke. And in that translation, it says, grant what we have need of each day in bread and insight. That translation brings in a little bit more awareness into the request, into the knowing. Give us this day. It's a demand. It's a knowing that I am so one with the source that I have the dominion, I have the power to call it forth. And he said that I'm not the only one that has this power. That's why I'm teaching you, so that you can go out and do these things, and greater things than these you can do. But we need to take on the demeanor. We need to take on that awareness that Jesus had of the total oneness with the one. And the only time we have is when? Right now. Right now. Right now. Now, granted, we all have these ideas of what is going to happen. What am I going to do next week? What are my plans for Thanksgiving? I mean, come on. We all have those things running through our heads. And that's a good thing. Because we have this infinite spirit within us that desires to bring more of itself out, to expand, to experience, to play with this infinite being that we are, and to do more, to be more, to share it. Absolutely, that's what we are to do. But don't take worry. Don't take concern. Don't take apprehension into that future. For you know what? Somehow or another, this is a little secret, but somehow or another that tomorrow, it will magically turn into today. So truly what we have is today. We have the promptings of our heart today. And granted, we are going to take the necessary step toward whatever the goal is that we want to have. You know, if you're gonna prepare a Thanksgiving feast for 20 people on Thursday, you better buy your frozen turkey early. There are certain things that we do have to plan ahead for. But know that whatever it is that is to be done by you, at this moment, you're doing it. I don't know how many times I have thought, wondering, literally at the beginning of each Sunday morning, gosh, I wonder who's going to be at church this Sunday. I wonder if so-and-so will be there. I wonder if so-and-so. And then I get a text, oh, guess what? The last minute, things changed. I'm not going to be able to come. And I was thinking, oh, those people are going to be here. No, they're not going to be here. And I have to remind myself that says, you know what? Everybody is in their right and perfect place at the right and perfect time. And it's none of my beeswax. Really, other than knowing that we are one and that each of us is this beautiful expression of the one. So have your goals, have your desires, bring them forth, but do what you need to do about them today. Don't be concerned about tomorrow. This is the day that the Lord has made. If you look at Jesus' teachings, even though he gave us the Lord's Prayer, this is how you do it, Our Father, which art in heaven, and so forth, we're all familiar with it. Many times his examples of when he prayed, he started with, I thank you, Father, that you have heard me and that you always hear me. Don't you does that sound familiar? Most of the prayers in the Bible, Lazarus, when he brought Lazarus from the dead, thank you, Father. The first words out of his mouth were, thank you, Father, that you have heard me. Why? Because he had already been praying for Lazarus. He knew what was going to happen. He was so expectant of the outcome that he was already grateful for what had happened in mind, in spirit. That's the type of attitude, that's the type of knowing that Jesus kept trying to tell us we're to have. That confidence, that trust, that if God gave me this idea and this desire, then there is a way that it will come about. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Science of Mind magazine. Anybody? I see a few heads nodding. I loved the one this week called Turning Obstacles into Opportunities. Because so many times we have a plan. This is what I want to come forth. This is great. It's all great, hopefully trusting that we don't plan for obstacles, but they somehow show up. There's a detour on the road that we didn't necessarily think that we put there, and so what are we going to do? And most obstacles are there. This is the one thing that I really appreciated when I at one point was going off-roading, was that the off-roaders have this mindset that if there's an obstacle there, I will handle it at the moment, either going around it or going over it or going under it or through it. And that's the way I think we are to look at life's obstacles as opportunities. There's a quote here from Walter E. Cole. We must look for the opportunity in every difficulty instead of being paralyzed at the thought of a difficulty in every opportunity. Thought will always bring back to us what we send out. See, that correlates with what Jesus taught in the fact that, thank you, Father, for always hearing me. Remember, Father, Lord, and law, in our teaching, law and Lord are synonymous, one and the same. So the Father, the law, and the Lord are always the same, and they're always listening, and they're hearing us, whether we're verbalizing it or we're thinking it. He says, how do you handle life's challenges? The undeniable ups and downs that life brings. Do you face them with confidence and faith, or cowardness and fear? Our approach and attitude are the only things that will secure a successful outcome. So what do we see? Obstacles or opportunities? Hopefully you see opportunities, because what you see is what you get. Your perception becomes your reality. So true. I am greater than any obstacle that may come before me. The creative power within me empowers me and equips me to turn every obstacle into opportunity. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? So if we have that take on it, if we have that perception that there's an obstacle here, oh, great, cool. How am I going to make this an opportunity? How is this going to bless me? How is this going to bless others? There is something within me that is greater than what I am seeing as an obstacle. I wanted to read you a story, Power of Determination. A little country schoolhouse was heated by an old-fashioned pot-belly coal stove. A little boy had the job of coming to school early each day to start the fire and warm the room before the teacher and his classmates arrived. One morning they arrived to find the schoolhouse engulfed in flames. They dragged the unconscious little boy out of the flaming building, more dead than alive. He had major burns over the lower half of his body and was taken to a nearby county hospital. From his bed, the dreadfully burned, semi-conscious little boy faintly heard the doctor talking to his mother. The doctor told his mother that her son would surely die, which was for the best, really, for the terrible fire had devastated the lower half of his body. But the brave boy didn't want to die. He made up his mind that he would survive. Somehow, to the amazement of the physician, he did survive. When the mortal danger was past, he again heard the doctor and his mother speaking quietly. The mother was told that since the fire had destroyed so much of the flesh in the lower part of his body, it would almost be better if he had died, since he was doomed to be a lifetime cripple with no use at all of his lower limbs. Once more, the brave boy made up his mind. He would not be a cripple. He would walk. But unfortunately, from the waist down, he had no motor ability. His thin legs just dangled there, all but lifeless. Ultimately, he was released from the hospital. Every day, his mother would massage his little legs, but there was no feeling, no control, nothing. Yet his determination that he would walk was as strong as ever. When he wasn't in bed, he was confined to a wheelchair. One sunny day, his mother wheeled him out into the yard to get some fresh air. This day, instead of sitting there, he threw himself from the chair. He pulled himself across the grass, dragging his legs behind him. He worked his way to the white picket fence, bordering their lot. With great effort, he raised himself up on the fence. Then, stake by stake, he began dragging himself along the fence, resolved that he would walk. He started to do this every day until he wore a smooth path around the yard beside the fence. There was nothing he wanted more than to develop life in those legs. Ultimately, through the daily massages, his iron persistence, and his resolute determination, he did develop the ability to stand up, then to walk haltingly, then to walk by himself, and then to run. He began to walk to school, then to run to school, to run for the sheer joy of running. Later in college, he made the track team. Still later, in Madison Square Garden, this young man, who was not expected to survive, who surely was never to walk, who could never hope to run, this determined young man, Dr. Glenn Cunningham, ran the world's fastest mile on June 16, 1934, Glenn Cunningham ran the mile in 4.06.8 minutes, breaking the world's record. His effort portrays that whatever you want to create in your life is yours for the making, as long as you desire it enough and allow your will to guide you. You don't have to be whatever your heart's you can have and be whatever your heart's desires. The only one that can put limits on your personal will is ourselves. Develop and encourage your will to create, and all the forces of nature within and without will help you bring your desire to pass. This is a true story. This young boy, determined to just stand, to not be a cripple, to walk, and then to feel the joy of running, and to break the record, knowing what he had to go through to achieve that. All of us have a desire in our hearts of something. And most of us won't have to have that much determination, that much persistence, that many obstacles to overcome to achieve them. But know that whatever is in your heart, that you can do it. If you take the step today that is before you to take. He would never have run that mile had he not thrown himself out of a chair, had he not gotten up to that fence and one stake at a time pulled himself. It took day after day after day, moment after moment after moment. Listen to your heart and do what you can do today to let your dreams, your desires, your ambitions come to fruition. Open up your mind and your heart to the awareness of this infinite being that is breathing your breath, that is beating your heart without your conscious direction, growing your fingernails, as Wayne Dyer used to say. You can't stop them. Let yourself, at this moment in time, do what needs to be done by you. Be available. Ask the universe, what is there for me to do this day that no one else can do? You might think that it's trivial, but if it's in your heart to do it, go for it. Don't be concerned with what others have to say, what others have to think. They're leading their own lives. Lead yours to the fullest. And do it one moment at a time. Each moment, fill it fully. Breathe in. Say thank you, thank you, thank you. Feel that gratitude. That gratitude is a love song to the universe. And what we put out, we do get back. Multiplied, flowing over. What do you want in life? Be grateful for exactly what you have now at this moment in time. All this week, I have been singing a particular song in the shower. And it just seems to go. I don't know why it is, but this is the one you're getting today. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine. Today, I'll be a dandy and I'll be a rover. You'll know who I am by the songs that I sing. I'll feast at your table, I'll sleep in your clover. Who cares what the morrow may bring. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. I can't be contented with yesterday's glory. I can't live on promises, winter to spring. Today is my moment, and now is my story. I'll laugh and I'll cry and I'll sing. You know this. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. Live today to its absolute fullest. Love you. Namaste.